Hey everybody, Pete A. Turner, executive producer and host of your Break It Down show. Our episode today is the official podcast release of our interview with Taylor Dayne. If you all know who Taylor Dayne is, right? Tell it to my heart. She is an incredible singer who dominated for such a long time and has so many number one hits and is a legend in the music world. And John and I, when we got her, all kinds of people from Facebook and everywhere else were like, oh wow, I can't wait to hear this. So if you haven't heard the show yet, here's your chance to hear Taylor Dayne talking. And let me just tell you, from interacting with her and everything else, she is just exactly how you would expect her to be. She's a real person, full of love, full of gratefulness and thankfulness. And I highly recommend, well, obviously her music, but especially her book, Tell It to My Heart. She gets into it. Hey, by the way, also, she's got a TED Talk. If you type that in, you will get an idea of what her journey was like, because it's not all, milk and honey. There's some rough stuff in there. So go ahead and check out this show. Check out her TED Talk for sure. If you're at all interested in Taylor Dayne, get her book. Click on our link in the show. That's how you support us. And you will love this episode. I promise. It is just so good. And we're going to get Taylor back once again when she's on the road. Hopefully get her face to face at some point. So there'll be more coming from her. Okay, one last thing. And I'm going to keep this intro short because you know what I'm going to say next. Save the Brave. SaveTheBrave.org. It's where Scott, John, and I all put our time and money in our efforts to make the world a better place. And that's our charitable charter here at the Break It Down show. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for all of your support. Please continue to do it. I see it all over the place. It's fantastic. Here comes, can you believe I'm about to say this? Here comes Taylor Dayne.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Morata.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Hi, this is Taylor Dayne, and you are listening to the Break It Down show.
Those are words we've been waiting to hear, and I'm excited that you're with us. Taylor Dayne emerged in 1987, which is a pivotal year for Pete and myself, because it was a year that we both graduated from high school. So you can
Pretty
imagine,
much me too.
you can imagine what what place in our hearts you occupy, because just as you were taking the world by storm, we were entering adulthood and going to the clubs where you'd be played, and we still grew up in that age where you called the DJ. And you got the DJ to play the songs that you wanted, which in the Bay Area where we grew up were guys like Sway and Theo Misahara and Rick Chase. And we were all a part of that emergence. So we have been with you your entire career. It means a lot that you'd be on our show. Thank you.
And Joan's happy too.
All right.
We got to represent people we love all these years too. So I appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much for so many years of support. And I understand. I mean, I was in the clubs in New York. You were in the Bay Area. And those DJs, last night a DJ saved my life. They saved my life.
Yeah.
Those clubs,
Coming out to the Bay Area.
A lot younger too. What was the drinking age when you were graduated high school? Was
21.
It 18?
It was 21.
You guys always got screwed on the West Coast. The East Coast, we were given a good ride.
Yeah. Well, I also I'm from Guam originally, and I went back to Guam right after I graduated where the drinking age was 18. So we went crazy back there.
Well, we just had a life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have a book out now, and you got all kinds of things going on.
Oh, well, I have a copy of it here. I'll let you see. Well, yeah, my book this is all celebrating the 30 year. It's how I lost my shit, conquered my fear, and found my voice, literally.
Yeah.
I put up my TED Talk. That kind of was the impetus for this book. I did TED in 2016, and that was a 6-month process of really writing, rewriting, and then it really led me in the book mentor and my book guru, Linda Syverson, who has an incredible podcast as well. She's the one that said, you need to do a TED Talk because doing a book is going to take you 2 years. So the TED Talk, no. And then I was like, this TED Talk is almost as, in depth and as crazy. But really, it really helped me set up for my 30-year anniversary. And the book is out, and it's I'm real proud of it. And it's 30 years. 30 years this week. Love It Lead You Back went #1. I'm like getting all these, people are obviously home, and a lot of us are doing what we're doing, just connecting with each other through Zoom, social media, any which way we can. So it's been really kind of nice to see all these. I'm really present. I'm not on the road. I'm not traveling. I'm really present and seeing all this, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, let me just say, we get a lot of really very notable people on the show all the time. We had Representative Dan Crenshaw, who just dropped a book on last week. But when I put out that we were going to have you on the show, it hasn't stopped. People, listen, you must know this. Yeah, they love you.
What do you mean I must know this? Tell me.
Hey, Taylor, people love you. They couldn't say enough nice things. I'm kind of run through them here on the bottom of the screen. But just people were just ecstatic that you were coming on and celebrating it. So good.
We
Everybody
must have to
needs
sing
to have some of
something
that
for them, guys. You guys need to play a few records, and we'll sing for them a little bit. I'm touched. I'm ever so moved, and I love you guys. Thank you.
Let's move on, because we got a lot of questions to ask you about all kinds of stuff. We got catching up to do. I really want to start all the way back there, because a lot of people know your songs and your emergence on the radio, especially here on the West Coast, but you were also the opening act on Michael Jackson's Bad tour.
Well, that's kind of like graduating high school. Yes, I graduated high school. I went right into the clubs. I was an emerging artist, and my first tour, obviously the single came out in 87. So imagine 6 months later, it broke it. Well, here it came out in 87 in Europe. That's what a lot of people don't know. And the book will kind of sets up the entire story. So it was released in Europe first, and it blew up the clubs, right? It started as in the clubs, obviously, and then, calls to stations, which we're calling radio stations. That's really what it was. So DJs had such an impact on that grassroots spread of Taylor Dayne, because they didn't even have a photo of me on the first single, which was Tell It to My Heart. And it was a 12-inch. Then we got into what was called cassette singles. Yeah. And we had no album. I was signed to Arista for a single option album. There was no album in the works, other than I was a demo singer, and I was obviously hustling and working with Rick Wake at that point. He was my producing partner. We just delivered a single. I went to a private promoter because we'd already been doing a couple of singles, and that was with Rick Wake. We funded it, we put it out, and then we got a bite with Arista Records.
You made that thing for $6,000.
No doubt.
Is that right?
And then it got sold for $18,000. And it's this song, the one you hear. Yeah. It's astounding. It's astonishing, because what it did was it took 6 months. It blew up in Europe. Obviously, I won. And that's the tour I ended up doing with Michael, leading back to Michael Jackson and meeting Prince and everybody. It was during that year, those 2 years, where I primarily was in Europe. And then it broke in the United States in 1988. Then it started getting the Grammy nominations, because you have to be in at a certain window. And I didn't even show up for the Grammys for nominations till 89 for the same album. Well, because we had 5 top 10 hits on that. It just kept going. It was amazing. And there was no album. So it took me 6 months to make a record, or we call it the 6-week record, because at that point, Arista never made that mistake again with, Ace of Base, Milli Vanilli, any of the acts they had at least a couple of songs in the can. They were losing, you can't sell singles that much, you got to sell records.
And they learned that from you.
I definitely was the petri dish and testing for so many things. When they say they just threw the record out there, they didn't want my picture on, I think the single, because obviously my voice was very, very provocative, and I guess it had there was no demo necessarily for it, and they just wanted to see where it fell, and it hit hard, and it just started going number one throughout Europe. And I spent the first 6-7 months in Europe doing Montreux, meeting Prince, going on tour then with Michael for the Bad tour, and it continued from there, and then it swelled and it kept moving, and it was incredible.
What do you attribute that breakout to? I mean, you've got it. Your own label is hedging, and then kaboom, Taylor shows up.
Well, you don't look at it that way. I was like, oh my God, we got signed. I was doing singles before that, but it was under Leslie Wonderman or Leslie. I mean, if you guys know my history, I was in the clubs, Paradise Garage, Zanzibar. I was hustling. So there's no mistake. We just knew we needed to get more of a crossover record and put more of a crossover record. Rick and I were a team. I mean, we signed as Blue Productions. That was us. We signed a single. That was it. we already had Prove Your Love kind of in the works. It was the same writers, Seth Sawersky and Ernie Will. I mean, Don't Rush Me had already done background vocals and sang the demos for, that was the third single. Clyde brought in I'll Always Love You, but that was when we were really, and this was on the makings of making a record. It was astonishing. If you could see on that first album, I have Upon the Journey's End, because I was working in a Russian nightclub before that, and one of the writers I really loved, Joe Sharoni. I mean, I have story after story for every song. It's just amazing how it ended up on an iconic album like that, ultimately.
Yeah. An iconic album on an iconic label that's known for powerful female singers. So,
well, that's the interesting thing, your intention. So that was, I grew up in New York. So during that time, in that mid 80s, if you guys remember how all of a sudden we had this incredible radio station called Kiss FM, right?
Yeah.
That came out, and it started playing Sade, right? It started playing Whitney Houston. Then you started hearing, all of a sudden you started hearing Aretha Franklin again. You started hearing
Tina.
Natalie Cole again. Who's Zooming Who? Pink Cadillac. So these women, these voices. And then, of course, then we have Whitney Houston. I go, whoever the hell is doing this and whoever gets these women, now, not all these artists, but he certainly took Aretha Franklin from her 70s and broke her back again in the 80s. Natalie Cole, I'm not saying Clive had anything to do with that, but what I'm saying is that these voices were being honored. And then, of course, with Whitney coming out, a big voice, a big challenge, and a hit record. I was like, I want to be whoever gets those voices will get me.
Yeah. And it happened.
And I did get signed to Arista, yes.
And so with Arista, how did it happen that you landed there?
It was really through the single. We were promoting. I brought it to a promoter we had been working with during the time for a couple of other singles I had out. If you guys want to get into the real, B cuts, you can find one of my singles called Tell Me, Can You Love Me? Can you really love me? And I'm the one you want. Breaking, playing those clubs. And those were the two singles we had. And then Rick was very confident, and I was driving along the West Side Highway, and I saw a kid I went to high school with, and he was working at Warner Chappell Music Publishing, and I got a tape, and one of the songs on there was Tell It to My Heart. I said to Rick said, we need a crossover record. We need a record that really is going to get, if we're really going to do this. And one of the songs on there was Tell It to My Heart. And he goes, that's the one we should get that money from your dad, borrow it. And we were playing, I was out there hustling. So that's kind of how it happened. So we went into one of the private, like I said, we went to promoter, and he's the one that had some A&R. Andy Furman ended up hearing it from Arista Records and brought it into Arista, and they signed it as a single. That's really what happened.
Wow.
Because we were releasing it ourselves. I mean, I knew how to get on the mixed shows. We knew how to get into the dance pools, and we were hiring somebody just as an independent promoter to put it out there in the pools and draw our own buzz on it.
So you had that part of the business figured out. You just needed to get that next. You need to cross a genre or whatever. And you're right. You had great timing because you also didn't say the words Cyndi Lauper, Madonna, Tina Turner. The 80s was when the ladies broke out, the Go-Go's. It was totally possible for women to have a real career. And then you also had, Shaka Khan was big then, Lisa and the Cult Jam, all these female acts. It's like you all got together and said, let's take over the music industry by storm right now in the mid 80s.
It's quite amazing. I mean, when you had Janet Jackson, listen, Shaka was definitely an icon, a living legend, but her career started in the 70s for sure. Yeah. The 80s was Belinda, myself, Debbie Gibson, if you will, on that. Tiffany, those girls broke. But Cyndi broke 83. But even earlier, Cyndi was part of that, Boy George, that whole visual context, and Madonna, that early 80s. I came in 87, 88, like I said. But yeah, it was we're all in high school watching this and this phenomenon. And that was the combination of MTV and, of course, and giving these women a chance to be these visual iconic images, And of course, that first image you saw of me, woo, big hair, big lips, red lips, and all that. And so,
a lot of hairspray.
It holds an impression, I guess, guys. It was very impressionable.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question, but before I ask it, I want to say that you sort of batted cleanup in that era because all of those ladies came out and had great records, but you came through with the most I mean, comparable to Shaka, you came through with the most powerful voice. And it was almost like the 80s were prepping for some powerhouse to show up in the late 80s and really sing from
Well,
deep.
I had Whitney Houston, I had Aretha, I had a label that understood and how to, Clive is the song, right? So understood what a hit song was and understood the you can have a great voice, but the song is the song. The song is the weight. And Tell It to My Heart, it was that great a song. And obviously the rest is history. But having now 19 top 10 hits, right? And then, of course, then Mariah broke in 1990, and you saw more and more of that. But then you saw a real retreat on that as grunge and more of the rock and roll took place in the 90s. And as we started getting into our rock and roll again and simplifying and coming down off that pop genre. But the 80s had a lot of that, and it was slick and it was Rick, and we were doing records. But even when you saw what Aerosmith was doing with Janie's Got a Gun and all their stuff that was coming back, Pump, it was pretty unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, when
it redefined their career for sure. And mine began.
When the single came out, it didn't have your picture on it. Was your image and yours that you brought to the label, or did the label help you develop your look?
I'm going to tell you this quite frankly. I went into a warehouse. They had a single. It was blowing up all over, and it just said Taylor Dayne in that kind of graffiti. Tell It to My Heart. If you saw that graffiti-esque cover, it's a classic, 12-inch. I went into a warehouse. I went into a studio. I went into an apartment. We were doing a shoot for the first look. I brought in all stuff. I was hanging out in clubs, and like I said, this was late 80s or what I was doing, and where I was hanging was St. Mark's. I was in Private Eyes. I was in Danceteria. I was in going to Limelight just around that time, but not as much as I was in the clubs where music was playing dance, which was Paradise Garage, because I was working in a Russian nightclub trying to feed myself,
Yeah.
I moved out. I was 18. This is 19. Now I'm 21. The single art came from just being in a couple of incredible makeup artists, hairstylists. Those were all extensions and crimps, and I saw myself, and I saw the clothes that I was wearing on St. Mark's and stuff from Love Spit Love, as you know, these big stores from 2nd and 8th, and I put it on. I was like leather meets pleather meets, it was very indicative, and yet we styled it and we played with the hair, and the images are what you see. It was really just playing more of the 80s look if you saw some of my earlier photos, it was new wave meets, I guess, more of a luxury or a more dominatrix and powerful image of what a woman could look like. And who was she? I looked timeless. I looked ageless. I know it was, I got many a call once that video released. And once the image was backed to the song, it made all sense to everybody.
How would you classify obviously you do whatever the hell you want with your voice, because it's incredible, but what would you say is your home genre, where you're like, I can sing this kind of song all day, all night? Like, what's your home genre?
If you asked me then, I would have said, I'm a rock and roll singer. I'm a rock singer. I never thought of pop,
Right.
We just don't, but I had to learn, just like you had to learn, that, what's popular and what to label yourself is almost as dangerous as the idea of getting stuck in a genre, being cast in a genre of the music you do. I have had music that I'm blessed to say has been on every chart. R&B, not hip hop, R&B. I was nominated for Best Female R&B Vocalist. For Grammys, Best R&B Single. That was Love. I'll Always Love You. Pop, adult contemporary, dance. I've had that voice and that music that has crossed over. And that was kind of a blessing, but it was also very difficult because, as even we would say at the labels, like, I can sing the phone book, but, it's a hit record. It's a record that translates. And things I didn't even realize, like I'll Always Love You, how it would translate. I wasn't signed up for that song. I was signed up for Don't Rush Me. I was signed up for Shelter. I was signed up. Those are the things I understood. A ballad, it took me a while to understand the impact of what a love will lead you back. Meanwhile, when I first heard Love Will Lead You Back, I was way into understanding I'm a pop vocalist. I'm a But if you ask me my genre, with leading with R&B, I'm an R&B vocalist.
I'd second that motion. Hey, I'm looking at the comments, and Ramona Perry Plyman just said, "I named my daughter Taylor." That's a pretty neat comment. You sing a lot of songs about love. If you were to go through, everybody can go look up your discography, and there are a lot of song titles in there about love. But you've obviously led
Heart and
full
Love
life.
is in the title of predominantly every song I've, at least the singles. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what else do you want to explore now at this juncture of your career? Because you've led a full life, and you're raising teenagers, and you've done a lot of things.
I think what we're trying to explore right now is music that motivates, right? Music that I think it's something upbeat, something that connects. You always want to connect to the heart, right? So to me, it's always been about that. My truthfulness in how I sing is the authenticity, my integrity is in the authenticity of what you hear. So the strength and the power behind my voice, I've had to rope it in at times. And I think right now, when you hear Drake's new slot, I mean, there's music that's coming out. And if I was in the studio working with somebody right now, or as we are changing and trading tracks right now, as us are doing, honestly, remotely, that feels right. It feels like we need this hug. We all need this hug and come together, and a reason to go, dance, move your foot. Like, for all of us to be as one, and that's the beauty of music. It universally drives, and it resonates, and it holds. That's why I sing about love and heart, because I guess it's very believable coming from a person like me, who's very driven that way. My heart is very connected. Each song is a baby for me, if you will, a birth.
Wow. Okay. I mean, it has to be that way, right? I mean, we were talking, John and I, with a singer yesterday, Janine Stang, and she sings the national anthem. Like, that's her main thing. But we were talking about how one of the artists we'd had on, and we think it was Stuart Copeland, I can't remember for sure, but he talked about you don't change the song once you've done it right, because you've already done the work. The audience wants that thing that you've already given them.
Yeah.
But as you get older, are you looking at, like, I can change this with my new perspective as being a mom and having been around for a little while?
Well, of course, that's the artist's job. But I think we're talking about something like, yeah, I can do an acoustic version of "Tell It to My Heart." I can put it up any which way. I mean, I've been singing live concerts. I've been doing mini concerts from home, and you get that impression. You can get that. I can perform that. And some of them, I'm just listening back and going, "My God, I haven't even traveled and listened to this in so long." I have to say, when it comes to reinventing the wheel, you don't really need to reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
If the wheel's running and it's working, I understand that. What really changes is every night your audience. So your audience, it's like going to see a play that's been on Broadway for 10 years. Do you really want to see Funny Girl change the lyric, the intention of it? Do you want to see, or Rent? Would you want to see the music change? Would you want that to be changed? I mean, I understand interpretation, but what fans really want to do is connect with a moment in time, right? And I understand where it gets stale for some artists, and I can understand that. And even for myself, I have changed arrangements of songs, but the message is clear. The song is key. And that's what they want to hear in the lyric. And I always tend to stay very truthful to that. But my arrangements change. If you've listened to my arrangements of "I'll Always Love You," if you listen to my arrangements of "Love Will Lead You Back," and goes on, and "Shelter," and quite frankly, your audience changes every night. So does the energy. And you have to understand that as an artist. And I've learned that.
Well, let's talk about the book for a minute.
Sure.
I'd like to know who the book was for when you started writing it. And I'm sure that now it's for a lot of different people. It's for the generation of parents looking at the way they parented. It's for kids who are looking for their own voice. It's for that probably person in our generation who's still trying to figure it out. When you started the book, who was it for?
It was for me.
Okay.
It was for me to get out and I hunkered down. I went into a writing retreat. I met with Linda Syverson. As I said, she became my book mama, my mentor. She didn't become my ghostwriter. And then it went into this journey of how many times I've suppressed so many moments, or not even deliberately, just I'm a doer. I'm a going out and getting things done. And so much of this travel I never even took in. You don't really have the time or the capacity to take it in. It's so pushed forward. So this was this beautiful moment to reflect on the 30 years that I've put into this work, and the joys, the tears, the desires, the reason why I feel the purpose now, why I feel ever more present in my career than I did even if I was in the number one position, just going through the rabbit, on the hamster wheel, not even knowing what I was doing this for anymore, being led down doors that didn't even almost feel authentic at times. But I have to say it was for me. And then I realized it was for my parents. And now and it grows from there. My brothers, my fans, the women in my life, the men in my life. And I've said that, and of course the fans that now read it or get exposed to it. And, as a book never ends, right? It's got long legs, as they say.
Yeah. Well, and you've lived such an impossible life and had
so?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Look, anytime these kind of things happen, there's 10,000 other Taylors out there who had something happen in their life, whether they met a guy or they took a job or they didn't get that gig or whatever it was, and they didn't have it. And then you have all of the couples that you sang into love, when they're at that dance and they, you became their song. These things are only captured in a book and through a lifetime of experiences that you put on the page. It's a remarkable thing. So yeah, it's a remarkable life, Taylor.
I got an extra long hug this morning when my wife left the house. She said, "What are you doing today?" I said, "We're bringing Taylor on the show." That she embraced me and held on for a little longer.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here. And if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
Okay.
I hear you now.
All right.
Hey.
Good.
Yay.
Love led us
Okay.
back to Taylor. Hey, if you're going to buy Taylor Dayne's book, you should go to Amazon, click on the link. That always helps us and definitely helps Taylor. And then here's the
What it
thing.
looks like.
There it is, the book
Yeah.
right there. Here's the thing about when you buy the book. You have to leave a rating and review. That is what bumps the book up in the ratings. If you do that, you not only, of course, Taylor's going to get paid, but it introduces other people to the book. So rate it and review it. It's enormously helpful.
Here's the other thing. When you look for it on Amazon, you have to search for it under books because, of course, when you type in Tell It to My Heart, it takes you right to the single, which if you don't already own it, you should just buy it anyway. But search for it under books.
Get it off you'll see, guys, even if you go to my Facebook, you'll see on the banner, it's the 30-year deluxe edition anniversary. And I have new remixes. I even had fun with like some people in the jazz world and some cool producers that did remixes of it. And it's my versions. And it really helps me, helps artists. It's the beautiful new one that came out in 2018, 2019, the 30-year deluxe edition anniversary for Tell It to My Heart. And it has every song, and it has Born to Sing Now, the newer stuff I've released over the last few years.
Okay. Yes, do that. We are of the 12-inch generation. We like remixes. We like,
Yeah, they're on there.
That's the thing about the
Absolutely.
cassette single. There were always like 4 versions of the song on there. There were the
Very cool. It's
different
very
remixes.
cool.
I saw you live at a it had to be in the probably mid 90s. It was probably about 93 or 94. It was a daytime show at a racetrack in Berkeley called Golden Gate Fields. And of course
Was that it with Joan Jett?
What's that?
Were we on a double bill? Was it with Joan Jett and myself, or it was just me?
Oh, wow. I don't remember that. No, I think it was just you.
Okay.
It was just you.
I played a few racetracks, I have to be honest. I don't
Yeah. And it was like a Sunday show at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was
Yeah, because they have everybody coming in for the racetrack, and they did a concert series. Normally, I mean, I used to do those myself at Belmont Park. I used to go to those great concerts, and then the races would start. It was just kind of amazing. Or they do it right after the races. They had a kind of captured audience, and then they would go and then perform, and so it was pretty amazing. So yeah, I understand. So how was your experience at the concert?
Well, it was a generational shift because it was after the races. So the races happened like in the daytime, and then you came on afterwards. But all the old people left, and a whole different new crowd came to the race. And it was great. We had a fantastic time.
All them old gamblers left. I hear you.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't a good gambling day.
That's pretty awesome. That's great. Well, that's what probably the track wanted, to get some new degenerates in there and gamblers. Business is business, baby.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Well, thankfully, it didn't take for me. I haven't been back to the racetrack since.
You never ran to try to get that bet?
The only thing that was
I go to the Derby every year.
Yeah.
Sadly, obviously, it's been pushed, but it's postponed till September. But let me tell you something. I've hit that wall hard to get that bet in.
Yeah.
Woo! Yes.
Spoken like a true
Love
degenerate.
those horse races. Love the races.
Man.
So yesterday we had Miss Staying on talking about singing the national anthem at a donkey basketball game. What's your oddest place you've performed at?
Oh, come on, guys. Shit, I performed in my office 2 days ago. I performed in my bathroom. You mean like venue-wise?
Yeah,
when I first broke, honey, let me explain to you.
Yeah.
When I first broke, the single was this entity, right? I'd show up in a club in Germany, and it was 1,000 people that had crimped hair, or Tijuana. Try doing a show and you can't even hear yourself. I'm like, I need to hear the music, the monitors. And it was just mind blowing. A club in Tijuana probably had animal acts in there earlier. So yeah, been those. Always private shows are hysterical, whether you're doing a bar mitzvah or a wedding and stuff. But my take on it all now for the last 15 years is so different than when I was like chart. My 20s and 30s was all dedicated to chart, success, numbers. Now I have just a different piece, and it's just, people are so happy. When I sang a wedding, I've sang obviously it's a wedding song for many, many people. I'll always love you, or a birthday or whatever. And I just get out there and I'm just hugging, and just with them. And I don't think those are odd, but I got to think the sex club in Tijuana was pretty good.
That's what I was hoping for right there.
I'm sure there was donkey acts in that earlier.
Yes.
See?
Boom.
Yeah.
Or a couple of clubs in Europe. Let me tell you, I've been known to listen. I have a drink or two, and I've certainly gotten behind a piano bar or two. And I don't think they're the weirdest places. It's just the most fun.
Well, it seems like you've done this on your own terms, and you seem to. I don't want to say you took a break, but you slowed down in music so you could raise a couple of kids, and they're now.
Not on purpose. I wouldn't have slowed down. I mean, the industry really. My kids were born 2000, the last day of 2001. As Napster was gaining, as everything was changing, and as labels were, I was signed to BMG. Then I was one of the first independent, major artists going on an independent level with 98 with Naked Without You release, which is a gem of a record. So you guys should pick that up. It really put everything in my hands, and it was daunting, and it was incredible, but it was also like, how do you promote a record now? I was so used to the machine. Now we're in such a different DIY experience. And of course, between 2000 or 98 and where we sit today, there was no YouTube. There was no, we had MySpace. I think it was just beginning. We had Napster, and we had this no idea of what file sharing and downloading and free content, and everything that's transpired has been really over the last 20 years. And that's when I left Arista. So it's now 2020. So do the math. I left in 98, 99, put out 98, 96, pretty much 97 after Soul Dancing, after a Greatest Hits release they did. And then I did my first DIY, which was Naked Without You.
Well, it was a DIY, but it had you had powerhouse players on it. You had great songs on it. And then recently there was a re-release that had 3 extra songs on it, right?
On Naked Without You, well, just to give you an idea, that album went through a bankruptcy through their own, Polygram, Polydor, then Closed Doors.
Mm-hmm.
So that was who my distribution was through. The the label that I did it through, then folded doors. I mean, this was just ongoing and ongoing too, where BMG folded doors and then merged in with Sony. So that was 2006, maybe 2007. That record is out. You can find it. You can download that. You can get Naked Without You. But again, it's not because these labels ended up living and breathing and continuing. So the world, when I call it DIY, it's do it yourself. You're in your own distribution. It's all independent distribution. Most artists are doing that. I mean, at least that's where I'm at this point. After having a major record career, it really kind of was just scary as hell at the time. And it's not what I wanted. It's not what I thought would happen, but it's what transpired. So I had to, the cheese was moving. So you best believe I wanted to continue my career. So I didn't take a break. I was forced into a break ultimately, because as the music industry was changing so rapidly, that's exactly what I got caught in, that entire crossfire of it. But here I am.
Here you are.
1.5 million listeners and Spotify a month, and continue to grow, and it will continue to grow, and we'll continue to use these formats and social media and these platforms and influencing and influencers to continue to do what I'm doing in podcasts, to continue to get the message out, whatever that message is for me, which is I bring people together, and I've found that I get my head out of the mix and I just say, my voice heals people. Great. Here I am.
Well, Pete just posted a link for those of you who are watching. You can listen to Naked Without You on Spotify, but if you're listening to the podcast on audio only, Naked Without You is available out there. You can go out there and buy it. I recently discovered Tim Pierce, the guitar player, and he played on that record. Did you make that record in Nashville? Where'd you make that record?
I did. I actually, Unstoppable was done in Nashville with Tommy Sims.
Uh-huh.
Incredible. Okay. He did Clapton, Tears from Heaven. So I wrote that with him. I produced it with him. There's a couple of beautiful gems on there. There's a Dusty Springfield cover of You Don't Have to Say You Love Me on there that I love. Diane Warren track. Tom Keane was on there. Yes, incredible stuff. And then, of course, then we have Satisfied and Floor on Fire, Dreaming. I can go on and go on. Live Without, the last single I did with Avedon and Scott Storch. But, it's so much more of a singles world than an albums world at this point, which we understand, or EP. So the next stuff I'll be releasing rather soon is these couple of new up-and-comers. This guy, producer Zig, and his partner Nick. We did Project last year, and I'll probably release an EP on that, like 3 songs of it. And it's pretty exciting.
Who's out there producer-wise that you want to work with? I mean, you obviously can get anybody you want because of where you are now, but...
That's not true.
Really?
Stargazers, please.
Name somebody.
Diplo,
I'm going to make the phone call, make it happen.
Stargazers. Are you kidding me? That's not true, It's just, there's hustlers. There's Nile Rodgers who stayed on it and hustled, and he created his sound, his wall of sound. And, Niles just kept at it, through all his health and through all his, God bless him.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. Get me in the room with them and let me do some magic. Get me in the room with these guys and let me do some magic. Avicii I got in the room with because of Nile, and I've never seen, bless his soul, rest in peace. I never saw somebody so hardworking and it was mesmerizing to watch him with a computer, mind you, with having Nile playing live. I'm sitting in there with Arthur Baker. I mean, these are names I know it was just, and with Guetta, who was producing. It was mind blowing. The collaboration, this collaborativeness is what will save everybody, but it's where I aspire to be on this creative end. It could be John Mayer. It could be Bob Weir. It really, the sky's the limit. Snoop.
Yeah. So I hear you're working on a Vegas musical about based on the book and based on your life. Is that true?
Well, it's not hard to do at this point, meaning tell it to my heart. We pretty much have the music. You got the story. We just need the room.
Yeah. We just need for all of us to be able to get back together in a room again.
We do need the room, love. Yes, I have to do a little refreshing because if a phone call comes in, I got tenacious girlfriends calling me, checking in on me,
One of our longtime listeners is chiming in the comments. Her name is Laura. She's a dear friend, and she's a dedicated listener, and she loves you, loves you, loves you, and she keeps saying that. But she also would love it if you would just belt out a little piece of "Love Would Lead You Back."
Sure.
This is for Laura.
Laura, love will lead you back. Someday I just know that love will lead you back to my arms where you belong. I'm so sure, I'm sure as stars are shining, one day you will find me again. Please don't be long, 'cause one of these days love will lead you back.
Wow.
Thank you, Laura, for asking for that, because that really was, and it ends up that was for me. So thank you for that. I started to tell you before you got disconnected the first time. This morning, my wife, when she left the house, she said, "What are you doing today?" I said, "We're going to have Taylor Dayne on the show." And, she gave me my goodbye hug. But right after I said that, she gave me a hug, and she hugged me a little extra long because you were.
Yeah, I bring out that she gave you some love.
Yeah. I mean, this was, like Pete said, you were really a part of that. You sang people into love. And so
I think it came from a very I come from a very passionate, heartfelt, real place. So I think that's the connection. If I try to put words to it, but it's better off coming from your wife. What's her name?
Christy.
Hi, Chrissy. Love you.
And it was her birthday yesterday.
Oh, her birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Oh, well, that's some crazy places where I've done little things on I do a lot of cameos. So shout outs. I'm in my car mostly when I do those. So yeah, there you go. Chrissy, happy birthday, honey.
Right on.
Stay safe, you guys.
Yeah, I've got a question for you. Okay, so what's next?
Sure.
I mean, you've written the book. You've got the 30-year deluxe edition out. But what's out there 1-2 years away? Obviously trying to get back on the road when you're allowed, but what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, we're all kind of in this stagnant, I'm just trying to get my kids to college here and try not to kick them out the house before that, because it's just, this is trying times to I have twins, as you know, they're 18 and I love them madly, but they're frothing at the mouth. They want to be, it's difficult.
They're not meant
and
to be inside.
Stay super safe.
Yeah.
I'm a real, as you know, my health, wellness, and fitness has become a big part of my lifestyle because staying healthy and mentally healthy, spiritually healthy, and physically healthy is really what has kept me motivated and moving. So I inspire women and I inspire most people on my pages to understand that this is because I work hard at it. And so keeping my kids to understand the safety of what now, like you can't come in this house and infect me, or you can't keep going and doing what you're doing. Like you must think outside of your self needs and be more present for other people's needs and be conscious of that. And it's difficult talking to a psychotic 18-year-old who's basically, half the time he could be on death row. He's so crazy.
One of my favorite things is when, and recently it was Carrie Underwood, when folks who are famous and notable, but their kids they just don't care. And so they say things like,
care. Care.
My mom, no, she does the laundry. That's her hobby. That's absolutely a thing. Her favorite thing is to do the laundry. So what would you think?
Okay, well, if you ask my kids, I'm so OCD. I'm constantly cleaning. They're like, you're just so OCD. You're so this. My daughter is in a huff with me. I'm like, let's sit down and do Seder. I made Seder for 3 of us. Hello. How hard is that? Normally I have 17, 20 people here. Like, be part of this family. It's only 3 of us. I'm like getting enough, brain crazy myself. And they're just like, I'd rather be with my girlfriend. I'm like, well, she better have gloves. You better be quarantined. You better be this. It's like, I can't. It's this. There's a lot of loneliness and a lot of challenges going on right now for all of us.
Yeah, for sure.
for all of us. They can't have graduation. They're livid. They're upset. You know, these they want their senior year to end, and yet they can't even move to their, you know. I'm trying as best you are. I don't have all the solutions. I blow up just like you do. I got stuff all next to my bed here. Try to remind myself every day, keep it together, keep it together, keep it together. I sound like Eddie Murphy. There's my right? Gratitude, book after book, staying connected, dealing with, you know, clarity cleanse, everything conceivable, doing my yoga, everything to keep mentally, physically, my walks, my hikes, to stay sound. So when we come out of this, guys, and hopefully, you know, we all stay healthy during this as we're doing so much social distancing, that we can come out of this healthier, stronger, and more connected than ever.
Yeah, for sure. Along those lines, what can we coax you into?
So less Oreo cookies at night. Basically what I'm saying is, because I have a shitload of them and a junk load in one drawer. I did 5 last night. That was like, whoo. So, yeah.
Oreo cookies. That's been your secret.
That's my thing. Well, that's my thing. That's my cheat.
Yeah.
Now that you've been through the book writing process, though, how about capturing something about you've looked at your past? How about looking at the future for all of us and doing some more motivational stuff and going through the process of writing another book? Do you see that in your future?
Yeah, it would be more health and wellness, and I would do it with my hormone endocrinologist specialist, Dr. Quinar. I would couple that up with obviously more of the memoir of the moment, which would be more of health, wellness, staying positive, staying in the, you know, this is a trying time for most people. And what I've been doing the last 3, 4, 7 years to really optimize my energy, and I stay on top of it like a religion. It's a religion for me, and mental health as well. Yeah, that's what I would do. I would focus on a wellness, health, and also how to keep and reach your greatest energy capacity.
Well, if the live comments are any indicator, you have an audience out there who really wants it from you.
I love you. I mean, I try to show it. Look, you have to live you walk your walk. It's not so much the exercise, it's doing the exercise. It's not so much talking the talk, it's walking the walk. So I will share that with you. And that would be the next book, if you will. Absolutely. And a stage presentation, or, you know, a stage show, a Vegas show, if you will. For me, I'd love to have a residency there with Tell It to My Heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Please do
that's
that.
That's kind of, you know, that's for certain. What we've done with Ladies of the 80s and created this, you know, from Jody to Lisa to the Pointer Sisters, Bonnie Pointer, you know, that's, you know, producing more events like that. And of course, motivational speaking. I mean, if that's really what the TED Talk was I can speak. I know what to do. I can do it. Okay.
Well, it sounds like that's what's next. It sounds like that's what the audience wants from you. We can't wait.
But I will never stop touring until I have to.
Yeah. Well,
music is number one.
Don't stop touring for sure.
No.
Absolutely. And where do you live? Do you live on the East Coast or the West Coast?
No, I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
And Miami. I have a place I'm in both, but I'm primarily in LA since we're in quarantine. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, LA is not a bad place to be quarantined. Boy, there's a lot of great people to work with too.
Yeah. I mean, this is, yeah. Although it's been rather rainy but it's okay. We're getting through it. Yeah. I'm here. I'm hunkered down with them kids, them babies. They're not babies anymore. They're grown ass, but yes.
And they got mouths and legs and attitudes and all that stuff.
Don't you know?
Yeah.
Sounds like you know.
Yeah, I mean, like any kind of bad behavior I get. My kid's great. She's awesome. But yeah, I definitely deserve whatever badness I get. I was pretty horrible.
That's true.
Well, I wasn't necessarily not horrible, but I just was like, follow the yellow brick road. I had a mission, man. I was like out the house on tour. I was already working in clubs 17, 18 anyway. And I was fortunate. I grew up in New York. I was in the bitter end, bottom line. I mean, all these places were accessible to me. That's what I was doing. And I was working with original, you know, writers and stuff by 18. So it was very unique times, if you will.
You stay in touch with your Long Island roots, musically speaking? Do you have people you made music with back there that you still make music with now?
Tommy Burns went on to, He's in those first videos you see, probably Prove Your Love and things. And Tommy was with me the first tour. Tommy went on. He's been with Billy Joel now for the last 28 years, I guess. His MD and everything like that. Other players. I mean, God bless Rick Wake. We lost some of our people along the way. Rich Tancredi's still doing what he's doing. Richie Canada, who owned the studio, God willing, is still alive. His partner Clay passed. Some of them have passed, and God bless them. Bobby Cadway did some of the greatest guitar work on my first records. The great singer, Billy T. Scott, who did all my arrangements with me, who, when I was they taught me all those moves, him and Jamila, background singers, Cedric, they taught me all that stuff for the sessions. He went on to work with Mariah and did all Mariah's sessions with her. And Billy T. Scott, we miss you. So we've lost a lot of great ones too.
Yeah. Well, keep doing what you're doing. And judging by all the comments and quotes, everybody's already ready to buy airline tickets to go to Vegas to watch your residency. Just keep doing what you're doing. Well,
stay tuned. Obviously, a lot of stuff has been postponed.
Yeah.
For the March shows, my March and April and May shows are now postponed, and we're all hunkering down to see. Hopefully, June we can reconvene, and all those dates will be reposted, and we will let you know when they have been postponed too. People that have tickets for the Arizona shows and other things that have come up, and obviously the shows that we just canceled here for Vegas in March. And it's been trying. It's been difficult. Many artists are suffering, and I don't want to be one of them at this point. So I'm looking forward to June is when I think we can reconvene and get ourselves out there and doing what we need to do. Yeah.
And the best place to stay updated is at on your website?
Absolutely. You can go to TaylorDayne.com. Certainly go to my Facebook page. I'm very active on my Facebook page. I'm very active on my Instagram, The Real Taylor Dayne, at Dayne. For anybody that's still holding on to that Dane, that was a stripper in the day. That was a porn star. I am not Taylor Dayne. I'm not that stripper. I am not that porn star. We are Day, like the day of the Dane. And yes, they're all verified, so you can find them.
Well, Pete just
accounts.
posted.
So yeah, I'm very, very public and very active on all those accounts. My website, you can find all the music, and all the merchandise, and all the concerts that have been postponed. And we're trying to keep it as up to date as we can while we get information like you all do.
Great. Yeah, and let us know. We're glad to push things out, and everything like that will be in the show notes. If you're listening and you're not sure, just breakitdownshow.com. You'll see Taylor's name on there, or go to any of the web pages where we have our presence, and you'll be able to find our information, or just simply go to TaylorDayne.com. And you guys will do it. And make sure you guys like and comment and review the book when you buy it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Buy the book.
And go check out that 30-year edition, that 30-year anniversary, because it has a lot of cool new remixes that you might like. And some of the new, some new stuff that I put on there, which for Born to Sing. And people have been asking me, because that was a song I wrote and did for the TED Talk. It's on there. It's quite beautiful.
Yeah, keep writing songs. You're great at it. Thank you so much. As far as I'm concerned, I'm good on questions. John, do you have anything else?
I just want to say I've always been a big fan of yours, and I love you even more now than I did an hour ago.
Aw. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. What a beautiful talk today. Thank you so much. And thank you all my fans. Thank you for becoming a fan. Thank you for listening. Keep going, guys. Stay strong.
And anything you're doing, we want to help promote. So just let us know.
Well, Joanne is in touch with you, so we got this. So anything, she's my angel. You know that, Joanne Miggs. So we got that.
Terrific. Taylor Dayne, everybody. We love you.
Love you guys. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of your day.